All right, we're back at Comerica Park. Take two and 3, 2, 1. Hi, Dan Dickerson. How you doing?
Good.
Well, that sounds
really
better.
good.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
84 Tigers go 35-5 over 40 games. This team in their last 40 games is 29-11. This, in some ways, though, because it was a defined baseball team, you can make a case this is more impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I will never, the 35-5, we're never going to see it. That was ridiculous.
Yes.
But in terms of my years doing this, and since then, let's go since then, just because, yes, there have been other stretches like this where they were hot for 40 games and won more than 30 games, I think, in a couple spots. But where this started is the biggest thing. Those are teams that either had success or were, almost all of them, right, had success, or they were off to a slow start, something along those lines. Not a bunch of kids who don't have a lot of major league experience who started this stretch 8 games below the 500 mark in August.
Right.
And that's what makes it one of the most impressive. And the way they're doing it, and we've talked about it a lot on the air, but it's just so fun to watch this brand of baseball. It's a complete team baseball every game, meaning the base running, the defense. You guys were just talking about it. The good at-bats. It's quality at-bats. The run scoring is only up a little bit in the last 40 games by half a run. But it's a better offense because of all the work that goes into every at-bat, the bullpen work. It's all of it. The defense. We're saying there were about 4 or 5 plays in every game during this stretch that you can look back to and go, well, if they don't make that play, the whole game might have been different. Just go to Wenzel Perez last night, making that catch in the gap in a 3-1 game in the 4th inning. Those kinds of things are happening again and again. But I feel like, and AJ and I talked about this on the show yesterday, it's a reflection of all the hard work that goes into every day to win one game, and they're buying into that approach, and then their commitment to making sure they're playing the game the right way.
How do we explain this? The pitching that they've gotten since the All-Star break has been ridiculous. The earned run average for the team is I think it's under 3.1. It's amazing. But they've done it with literally 2/5 or at best 3/5 of a rotation. It's one thing to have an opener start every once in a while, but they've had 3 opener starts.
Yep.
For the better part of these 2 months, and they're getting it from guys that did not have a track record in the minors. Gunther and all these other, Hannafy and Herter, all had ERAs north of 5 at Toledo. But they come here, and they're in between 2 and 3 for their earned run average. How do you explain the big jump that they get from the pitchers that didn't show a track record in the minors, but in the major leagues, they're killing it?
You know what I like is that, the run-scoring environment is so different down there, so it's really hard to make sense of some offensive and pitching stats because it's so much higher. It's a full run a game higher. So what I love about the Tigers is that they're looking at, all right, what are these guys working on? What can they add to our staff? What can we do to make them successful when they come up to the major leagues maybe for the first time? Ty Madden had a 7.97 ERA at Toledo.
And that was brought down his last couple starts.
He did what we needed to see him do over a stretch of 4 starts. And when they realized he's got stuff, now he's in the strike zone, 5 walks, 37 strikeouts in his last 24 innings. He has earned the right to be called up. So they're always looking for, okay, developmentally what's going on. What pitch maybe has he improved? What sequencing has he improved? The pitch pairings, all of that, the game planning, and then, okay, he can help us. Lots of non-obvious solutions to what I thought was I truly, after the trade deadline, was wondering, with Olsen and Mize on the IL, how are we going to get through the month of August? And the fact that AJ and Scott came up with a plan that was like, okay, let's use openers for 3 different guys. I asked AJ one day, I'm like, what do I call this right now? Is it a rotation? He said, well, let's just stop calling it a rotation, call it group effort days.
Yeah.
But everybody's bought in. All those openers who are working 1 and 2 innings at a time have been critical too, but now you're setting a Herter up for success instead of facing 8 right-handed bats. He's facing maybe a lineup with 4 or 5 left-handed bats. Now he's having success.
I think we can call it an Oprah nerd because you get an inning, you get an inning, and you get an inning.
Bravo, Scott. Very well done. I made the observation earlier. Last night was another one of those games where Bally's is with a family of a kid who's making his debut. That's happened 5 times this year. You're not supposed to be in contention with your families and girlfriends and sisters
Only 5?
and moms.
I think it's more than that. But
Bally's, how is it that this group of players, with all these guys making their major league debut and another one last night, it just the math doesn't work usually with this formula.
And I think what we're watching, I always remember the answer that AJ gave me when I asked him about hitting with runners in scoring position last year. All that goes into that. He's like, we don't put extra emphasis on it. What we do is we try to give them to be as prepared as possible for the at-bat, take all the external pressure off so that now you're going to home plate knowing that guy on the mound is in trouble, not you. And they do that in every facet of the game. I mean, I just think of Vierling last night, and I know he's done this, but just look at the technique on that ground ball, just the arm extended, scooping through it, running through the ball. Riley Green on the throw home, same thing in the outfield. You know why? Because they touch the ball 40, 50 times every day before they go to the outfield to work on that, to make sure. That's the single biggest thing that you can do to stop runners advancing 90 feet. Get the ball in your glove, get it in the air. And they work on it relentlessly. So these guys they don't know anything else. But it's a reflection of all that hard work, and that's why people keep saying, well, now the pressure's really on. That's not how they look at it, because they know they are prepared for the moment, whatever it might be.
What do you attribute the change in Parker Meadows and how this team, seemingly when Parker Meadows came back, they start winning baseball games?
Yeah, he is. I look at him as he really has been the catalyst.
I mean,
right?
096, Dan.
7 for 73. Let's be precise. I mean, and really struggling. I mean, they were spinning it and spinning it and spinning it, and for him to go down and 200 and some at bats to get it to where it needed to be, and it all paid off. Think of that Suarez grand slam. I mean, that's a guy throwing 102. And he takes a moment after missing a 3-1, steps out, calms himself down, slows himself down, because he was trying to meet the speed of the pitch and hits the grand slam. He's doing it in all facets. Everything. And remember AJ, he was in the 6th spot, and he's like, you going to move him to the leadoff spot? He's like, I kind of like him right where he is. Well, within a couple of days, he was back to the leadoff spot. And that's huge. Starting games with home runs, starting games with getting on base and running the bases.
Or he'll hit 9th. It doesn't matter.
Right. Lefty on the mound, he's hitting 9th. And so I look to him as a guy who has really led the way. But the defense, my goodness. I was talking about it today. I said, you guys just don't want a ball to drop, do you? It's like, no, that's our goal.
You know, it's funny when the only thing you have to complain about is they didn't complete that no-hitter a couple weeks ago. So they're going to get this done? You got to love their chances to make the playoffs.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't have any doubt about that, and they don't talk about it other than it's like, hey, if we just keep – as AJ says, you don't get there unless you keep doing what got us here. And they know what got us here, so you just take it one day at a time. But, yes, do I think so? Absolutely.
And if they do, they can be a problem with this pitching and the way they're playing.
You've been playing playoff baseball for 6 weeks in terms of this is how pitching gets used in the postseason if you don't have a Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer at the top of your rotation. This is how it gets used. Short starts, and then it's not bulk guys anymore. It's 2 and 3 inning guys, and you're mixing and matching.
And if you can get Reese Olson, who pitches today, if Reese Olson returns to the form that he had earlier in the season,
and he can go 4 and 5.
Yeah. Now you start, if and when you get into a playoff situation, you throw Skubal and Reese Olson out there. That is a hell of a 1-2 combo that you can do.
Absolutely is. And I think that's why today's start is important for Reese, just to maybe work a little bit deeper into the game. He's still building back up, but to have him paired with Skubal, remembering how good he was earlier, you're right. That's huge.
Obviously, Skubal's been the MVP of this team because he's doing things we haven't seen in a long time. But what about Tyler Holton? Doesn't matter where you put him.
We run out of things to say, but we keep saying them because you just
different players, different skills.
There's nobody quite like him. 93 innings last year, if you include 8 innings at Toledo. He's at 94, I think, now, or 93 again this year. All in relief. The starts are relief appearances, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody like him. And the fact that you can rely on him, he just went through a stretch where he gave up 2 runs in 47 innings. And it's not with great stuff, except that he knows how to get people out. He's incredible. He defies all the things that I think about pitching in terms of low strikeout guys. You hold batting average on balls and play low. It's going to correct. It doesn't correct because he knows what he's doing.
Final thing for me, when they traded Jack Flaherty, we all started researching number 8, number 22 prospect in the Dodger system's coming back, and you go, okay, this 8, I don't know. 22, throw in. The 22 prospect from the Dodgers is manning the infield and help leading this team to a postseason.
And think about what, front offices talk about. You target guys from organizations that have deep farm systems and do a good job of player development. They like the job. Scott Harris talked about this the day that he debuted. they liked the job the Dodgers did with him in terms of developing him as a hitter, even if it hadn't been obvious yet. He showed it at Toledo, but now he's showing, especially against lefties, that he can be an everyday guy.
You get the podcast with Benetti. You guys do a great job.
Well, thanks. He's so fun to work with.
You guys are absolutely interchangeable. I mean, you on TV, it's a seamless transition. It's great to hear. I think you guys do an amazing job. What's it like with him and that whole crew to work with when you get going?
I don't know. It's just a good day at the ballpark when you see Jason Benetti. I mean, he just adds so much. The personality. You know, he tells corny jokes. He makes plays on words, and then he looks at you like, I know that was bad, but you can't help but laugh. I love working with him every day. He's added so much, and it's a broadcast team with radio and TV.
How was it like that Bobby Scales save your life last week when the ball came up in the booth? That was a hot shot.
Awesome.
You notice I was leaning back. I was waiting for the carom, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get hot. And there's Bobby. Are you kidding me? And did you see what he did? Let the ball travel.
He's got huge hands. Bobby's got massive
I'm like,
paws.
did that hurt? He's like, no, that was amazing. Best catch I've ever seen in the booth.
That was great. Dan, you're the best.
Oh,
We're
you
so
guys,
happy
so
for you.
good.
We're happy for
Thanks
all
for
of
having
us.
me.
People ask what you're like all the time, and I go, God, he's such a jerk. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Have fun today. Thanks for making time.
All right.
I know you're busy.
Absolutely. No, I love coming out with you guys.
Dan Dickerson outside Comerica Park here. Karsch and Anderson continues 97.1 The Ticket. You guys hear me talk about